Hey, this is podcast 9. I'm going to talk about something first and then get the stars in the second half of this podcast. So, first, one thing that's kind of interesting to me is like when I rewatch a TV show like Game of Thrones, for example, I always pick up things that I know I didn't pick up last time, even though I was sure last time. I viewed the thing with the most intelligence or whatever, or the most discernment and attention and stuff. I thought I picked up everything. And I rewatched it like 4 times in a row. I've watched all of Game of Thrones. And I pick up different things every single time. I notice things that you were supposed to notice, like that the writers purposely put into the movie, like a little joke or the meaning behind some particular scene, but also sometimes even you go so far that you pick up things that you're not even sure are there. Like stuff that the writers and the directors didn't even intend, maybe, but there's a synchronistic kind of understanding, or like you come up with a theory that if you told the writers and directors about, they would call you crazy. They'd be like, we didn't mean that at all. But then again, maybe your theory is right. If only you could ask them in confidence. Like something happens, or like, for example, around the end of Game of Thrones. And by the way, spoiler alert. If you haven't watched Game of Thrones, I'm about to say what happens. But when Daenerys is fucking up King's Landing and Arya is there, running around and shit, notice how Arya did not use any of her faces. Like, she learned how to change faces and shit, but she didn't use that. That whole face changing thing that Arya mastered was such a big deal in previous episodes. And I just realized, like, why isn't she using it at the burning of King's Landing? There are no scenes with proof of Arya changing faces. Well, the last time I watched it, I thought to myself, maybe she was using faces. You're just supposed to infer. For all we know, she might have been Jaime Lannister, besides Cersei when they died. And Arya, as Jaime, planned the best place to lead Cersei so that Cersei could not escape death. In reality, Cersei could have maybe snuck out on some boat or... Hold on. My computer's not plugged in. I just want to make sure the battery doesn't die on this. Sorry. Totally interrupt. But, Cersei could have been led to like some safer place, don't you think? I mean, she could have maybe snuck out on a boat. Like I was thinking that, or been led to some safer place. But Arya, as Jaime, led her to surely be crushed by the rocks, like the ceiling. Because remember how committed Arya was to her list of names of people she was going to kill? And how Cersei was on that list. Do you really think Arya is going to let someone else kill Cersei? If someone else was going to kill Cersei, it was going to be Arya as someone else. And this is a stretch, but maybe Arya was Daenerys. Probably not, though. I still think it's more possible that Arya was Jaime at some point. Like, I don't know, I just keep thinking more theories. Like, you know when Theon's uncle, Euron Greyjoy, fought Jaime Lannister around the ending when Daenerys was fucking raining fire? You notice in that fight, it was almost like Jaime died first, but barely stumbles back to his feet and kills Euron. But Jaime's defeat at least seemed so fatal that Euron even said, like, I'm the man who killed Jaime Lannister. I'm speculating that Euron knows a fatal stab when he sees one, let alone inflicts one himself. And Euron knew Jaime was dying too. Now, how long Jaime kept running around after that seems to me that Arya maybe took his face somewhere. Like when Jaime was a corpse somewhere, maybe. Maybe Jaime died soon after Euron stabbed him. And Arya snuck in like a ninja and did her face switch quick. And by the time the camera went back to Jaime, Arya was already moving Jaime's body. And Arya as Jaime killed Euron. Or maybe the real Jaime did get up after that stab and killed Euron, but Jaime bled out later, and then Arya took his face. Like somewhere. Like you didn't see the scene where Arya took his face. But it's just weird how Jaime kept running around after such a fatal stab. So yeah, I come up with these theories while I'm rewatching stuff. Some theories are BS. Some might be correct. But some things I notice are just simply actual things that I didn't notice before. Not even a theory. Like a definite real thing. And again, the first time I watched things, I thought my brain was sharp and engaged and picking up everything. But rewatching stuff a second or a third time, it's surprising how you realize you missed something and it seems obvious. It happens in more than just movies or TV shows, like songs, for example. Or re-listening to stand-up comedy, it happened to me before. It would probably happen in conversation, if you could only redo conversations with people. You might pick up more about what a person meant, like logically or, emotionally. But with stand-up comedy, one time when I was re-listening to Dave Chappelle comedy routine or something, I knew I already listened to at least 5 times in my life. And I heard a whole small joke that he slipped in that I never noticed before. It almost annoyed me when I heard it because I thought I knew every joke that Dave Chappelle told in his famous routines. And here was one that if you showed me snipped out of context, I'd be like, that's a deep fake of Dave Chappelle. There's no way he said that during that routine. I've seen that routine enough times I would know. Meanwhile, he really did say it, and I really did miss it the first 5 fucking times. Probably I was distracted, like laughing at a previous joke or something, but there was something else on my mind that I want to talk about in this podcast. Totally unrelated. There's like a new way to look at the stars. The way I used to look at the stars is I would look up and think, what I'm seeing is what's shining right now. Like, that star is shining in the present tense. Think about this next time you go out and look at the stars. Every star that you're seeing is a point in the past. They're all different moments in the past, by the way. Each star that you're looking at is a certain amount of light years away, and it takes so long for the light from that star to reach your eyes. So there could be a star that's 3 light years away, and you're seeing like 3-year-old light. It's like you're seeing an image of that star from 3 years ago. And there's so many different points of light, and they're all at different positions in space. It's not just this one moment thing. It's like all of the stars are different slices of time in the past. each point is a different moment from the past in time. It's so weird. It's like, imagine looking out into the distance and simultaneously seeing yesterday, and right next to yesterday, you're seeing the ancient Egyptians building the pyramids. And right in between those two, you're seeing 4 months ago. And it's all just hitting you at the same time. It literally looks like all of those events are occurring at once. Because there's this illusion of a present moment. It almost looks like the ancient Egyptians could wave at the people from 4 months ago, and the people from 4 months ago could see them and wave back. Meanwhile, the ancient Egyptians could not even have had a clue that the other people will exist, because the people from 4 months ago are far in the future compared to the ancient Egyptians that you're seeing right beside them. Stars are not just the past. They're all different pasts. Like, many of the stars in the Big Dipper are views of around 80 some years ago. So next time you see the Big Dipper, think it's like a grandpa. Or if you see a grandpa, think he was born when tonight's Big Dipper's light just left to come to us. And you can tilt your head up to see Deneb. Looks like practically the same past, but it's like 1,411 years ago. Way older than a grandpa. Imagine if you could tell Deneb that you're seeing about the Big Dipper's twinkles you're seeing. You would be telling Deneb the future. Because the Big Dipper that you're seeing might be in the past to you, but it's the future to the Deneb you're seeing. You can't see how either one looks in this present moment. Both Deneb and the Big Dipper might not even exist anymore, but you'd still see them. No, they definitely still exist, but I'm just saying, theoretically, if Deneb were like extinguished right now magically, Earth would still see it for another 1,411 years. And if the Big Dipper were extinguished at the same moment now, then in only like 80 some years, you would not see it anymore. Imagine after the Big Dipper is not visible, you'd still see Deneb for another 1,331 years. And someone tells you they extinguished at the same moment. Doesn't look like it. Looks like Deneb's still shining. No, they really extinguished at the same moment. You're seeing the old Deneb for a while. And a decently old, but still newer Big Dipper. Because it's closer. It's just crazy how it's different pasts that you see at once. But moving on from how it's an endless multiplicity of time distortion, I want to say just focusing on one past of one star is cool too. Standing on the ground at night, looking up into the sky is the only place in the world where we can actually see the past. I mean, at a fireworks show, you can hear the past if you're far enough away from the fireworks. But with stars, you can see the past. Like, if you look at a video from 16 years ago, you're not seeing the past. You're seeing a present moment screen which just shows a video that you trust is the past. But if you look at the star Altair, that is 16 years ago, visible now. Look at Deneb again. That is 411 years ago. Not a video, not a painting. That's the real event from 1,411 years ago. I just think it's crazy. Seeing the past is one cool part of it, but the countless different pasts side by side is insane. I don't think it's possible for our minds to fully embrace how cool the unlimited different pasts are. Nighttime really makes a mockery of the present moment, or more like makes a goof out of it, infinitely. It's like the greatest roast that ever occurred in history. Nighttime roasting the present. 16 years ago, seeming like the present, that's one punch. 800 years ago, seeming like the present is another punch. 16 and 800 right beside each other with the same twinkle brightness, making it seem like they're the same past, is another free punch. How many more punches are there? Oh, there are other galaxies? They're talking about galaxies. They could be millions of years in the past. Like Andromeda. You can vaguely see Andromeda, I think, depending on where you are. But it really helps if you have a telescope. I imagine somewhere you might even be able to dimly see it in your peripheral. Like if it's a really clear night with zero light pollution and no streetlights or whatever, and the moon's not out at all, I imagine maybe you could dimly see the subtlest like cloud that is Andromeda in your peripheral vision. Because when you look away from objects in the dark, they're a little bit brighter than when you're looking directly at them. But anyway, I guess I over-explained the point about stars being different pasts, because I know the subtle difference between understanding it and getting it is ridiculously important. Like, I used to understand that stars were different distances when my teachers told me. But it's just how trippy it is didn't hit me until one night when I realized I'm lost in time. I don't know when's when. I'm seeing it like it's all now. Nope. Nothing is even close to now, nor close to then. The then of that then is only one then. None of the thens are the same then. But they put on this illusion that they are. Okay, I guess I'll end the podcast here. Thanks for listening.